Matthew 6. Take heed that ye do not your alms before men to be seen of them, otherwise ye have no reward of your Father which is in heaven. Therefore, when thou doest thine alms, do not sound a trumpet before thee, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, that they may have glory of men. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward. But when thou doest alms, let not thy left hand know what thy right hand doeth, that thine alms may be in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret himself shall reward thee openly. And when thou prayest, thou shalt not be as the hypocrites are, for they love to pray, standing in the synagogues, and in the corners of the streets, that they may be seen of men. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward. But thou, when thou prayest, enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, pray to thy Father which is in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly. But when ye pray, use not vain repetitions, as the heathen do, for they think that they shall be heard for their much speaking. Be not ye therefore like unto them. For your Father knoweth what things ye have need of, before ye ask him. After this manner therefore pray ye. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen.
Abanawa, Shabashamayim, Kodash, Haya, Shamka, Yahawa, Malakwaka, Daba'a Ratazaka, Haya, Aisha, Ba'arataza, Kawa, Haya, Bashamayim, Nathan Lanawa, Lakam, Kal Yuwam, Wasalak Lanawa, Kawabwat Nawa, Kasalak Nawa, Kawabwati Nawa, Wala'a, Dabaya Nawa, Banasayawan. Abo, Haushai Nawa, Mayan, Rai Kaya, Laka, Hamalakwan, Wahala, Wahata Pa'arath, La Iwalamium, Aman.
After this manner therefore pray ye. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Kakodash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to us younger brothers. And peace and blessing and salutation to the hopeful lake out there pushing his word in truth and in sincerity across the four winds. In the name of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful lake, the believers, the listeners who have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Shem Shai. All right. And what I want to get into today, all right, is dealing with, stupidity culture. I found a video, kind of expounded on things that we've been going over lately, dealing with the psyops, the enchantments, okay, the devil, Esau, Edom, his propaganda, all right, and how he's, just through media has dumbed down, society, to pure stupidity, man. Okay, to people have no clue what they believe, right? They don't know what truth is. Okay, people don't know how the world works around them. Okay, people are not in tune, with, the natural way. Okay, it's just a very, dumbed down, synthetic, vain, useless society, man. Okay, and this is what Esau has fabricated, and that's why I'm gonna start with these two precepts, and then we'll get into the video, and we'll expound on that. But when you go into Sirach 10:3, it says, an unwise king destroyeth his people. Okay? And this is what we're seeing, all right, is Esau, Edom, all right, the elites, okay, of Esau are the kings of the earth, and within their rulership, they've used their authority, their influence, and their resources to destroy, all right, people that they're ruling over, man. Okay, so this man, all right, fits the bill of an unwise king by how he treats his people, man. Okay, by how he treats people in general, how he treats creation, man. Okay, this is a king, okay, is supposed to benefit, okay, the people that he rules over. Okay, but with the wicked, it's the exact opposite, man. This man destroys his rulership, destroys people, man. Has destroyed family, has destroyed, food, has destroyed, you know, you know, the marriage, It just has destroyed, every facet of life, man. The ability to create wealth, people, the autonomy that people once had, being able to self-sustain themselves with the land. This man has just destroyed, the common knowledge of the earth. Okay, so in every way that you can think of, this man has set out, to destroy people, man. That's what this rulership has produced. Is a destroyed population. Okay, a stupid society. It said, but through the prudence of them which are in authority, the city shall be inhabited, man. Because uh, the benefit, as a matter of fact, you'll get that. But the way that you can see that the king is wise is by the type of people that their kingdom produces. Okay, that's how you can tell, that there's wisdom at the top, by the type of society and the people, that their kingdom produces. All right, and we see in this society the absolute worst, most grimy, untrustworthy, narcissistic, proud, you know, and useless people are produced, man. Okay, now you read this here. All right, verse it's Isaiah 60:2 said, "For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth." Okay, and this is a prophecy. All right, and darkness will cover the earth through Esau, Edom. It says, "In gross darkness the people." Okay, because this man has made darkness a standard in the earth. He has people operating off a standard of confusion. Okay, he has people being counterproductive to them own selves, man. Okay, everything that this man has presented, to the masses has worked against them. Okay, but this man knows how to put darkness to light and death for life. Okay, but it was prophesied that he will be able to do this, man. It says, "But the Lord, Yahweh Bashim al Shah, shall arise upon thee, and that thee is the hopeful elect, and his glory shall be seen upon thee." Okay, and it will begin with us having this wisdom, because in the world of stupidity, we've been given, this wisdom from on high on how to maneuver and how to operate, man. Okay, and this is a valuable thing. That's why we should, really appreciate the blessings of understanding, in this time where people have been dumbed down to destroy themselves, man. Okay, making themselves subject, to the oppressor Esau, Edom. Okay, so let's get this video. Like I say, it's about 13 minutes. Okay, Lord, we'll watch most of it. Um, but it's from this channel. Let me pull it up. All right. It says why the world is getting stupider. All right, the stupidity pandemic. Okay, so he's gonna make some points. He's gonna break it down, and we just expound on these things in the spirit, man. And just show you the society that we're dealing with, and it was intentionally done like this, man. Okay. Um. So yeah, let's.
You've probably seen it yourself. Someone defending a politician who lies straight to their face. A celebrity doing something mind-numbingly dumb, and still getting praised for it. People latching on to trends that make no sense, screaming outrage over things they barely understand. And you can't help but wonder, how? How can someone be so confident and so wrong? Why do so many people proudly support things that are obviously stupid? The reasons are not very simple. There's something deeper happening. In recent years, a strange and unsettling phenomenon has been quietly unfolding, one that feels more like the plot of a dystopian novel than reality: the slow death of critical thinking. While our raw intelligence may not be declining, something far more important is slipping away: our ability to think clearly, reason logically, and stay intellectually humble. What some are now calling a stupidity epidemic isn't a sudden collapse of intellect. It's more insidious than that. It's a gradual erosion, one that's led to a world where misinformation spreads faster than truth, and outrage often drowns out reason. But how did we get here? Why is this happening? And what forces are driving this growing epidemic of intellectual laziness? That's what we'll discuss in this video point by point.
Do you know what eating cabbage can do to your heart? Cabbage is a cruciferous vegetable that resembles lettuce and can be red, purple, white, or green.
Blind tribalism. Tribal outrage gives us a role to play, an enemy to fight, and a sense of purpose. Humans have always been tribal. Long before modern civilization, our survival depended on being part of a group. And while we've evolved in countless ways, this instinct to divide the world into us and them still runs deep in our psychology today. This is at the core of what social psychologists call social identity theory, the idea that a significant part of our self-worth comes from the groups we belong to. When our group is praised, we feel pride. When it's criticized, we feel personally attacked. As a result, people don't just disagree with opposing views. They treat them like threats to their very existence. And that's where stupidity begins to spread. The more uncertain we are, the more tribal we become. In times of fear and confusion, the mind craves clarity. Tribalism offers that clarity in the simplest form: us versus them.
And going, with this method, of tribal, okay, blind tribalism. He has people, he's pretty much fragmented society in all these different groups. Either you're pro this or anti that. Either you're pro abortion, anti abortion. Okay, you're pro juice, anti juice. Okay, you're pro Trump or you're anti Trump. Okay, and people just have been fragmented into all these different, sects. Okay, and that's why even when you go to, I'm gonna go back to it. Um, let's pull this up real quick. When you go here in the book of Mark, okay, and he does these things to create these two opposing sides, and you begin to identify, and you have such strong emotions, to these ideologies, man, that anyone that opposes your ideology, you treat them as if they're threatening your life. In this last, election, okay, with Trump and Kamala, and you see the reaction, all right, how the nigger woman and people for Kamala were just losing it, okay, because this devil, he knows how to tap in, okay, to people's emotions and pull those strings, okay, and as people, he creates these different, cultural personalities and these different ideologies, and you know, and it fragments society into these tribes to where everyone is so emotionally, all right, invoked, okay, by the opposition, that no one is thinking critical, man. All right. And people operate as if, and Esau gives you these options, okay, that you fight about. The people that fight over these different options are options that he gives you. Okay. So you're pro this or anti that, but it's based off two options that this devil gave you, man. Okay. And you link to them and you identify with them, and you know, you make these things your life. All right. And you lose it against anyone, okay, that's against it. That's why is it Mark 3? Might be 2. Is it 2 or 3? Let me see. Okay, yes, 3. So you go here to the book of Mark, chapter 3. Okay, and this is dealing, okay, with the beginning with the top elite, because if they divide the people, even themselves are divided. Okay, and it says, um, Mark 3:23, but I want to get this word, and it says, and he called them unto him and said unto them in parables, how can Satan cast out Satan? If a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. All right, now ultimately this is speaking of the elites and how they're divided. Okay, well, we know the elites, they, all right, divide, governments, all this civil war. That's why you have, rebel forces in this country and rebel forces in that country. They do the same thing, over there, but it's more extreme, because they uh, have those, what they call the extremist groups. Okay, these armed groups. Okay, but this is nothing. This is a tactic of Satan, is division. And the Lord has him divided. All right, and he has everyone else divided, man. And this is why, all right, you see the dysfunction among society because of so much division. Okay, it says, and if a house be divided against itself, it cannot stand. Okay, and you can look at that on every level, from a domestic neighborhood, okay, to a nation, to, all right, a global enterprise. If it's divided, it's not going to stand. Okay, and you go to this word divided, okay, in the Greek.
Strong's G 3307. Merizo.
Marizo.
Merizo.
Yep, marizo. All right, and it says to divide, to separate into parts, to cut in pieces. Okay, and this is what these devils do, with their media. They even have control opposition to where they prop up, opposition to certain talking points. Okay, but then they control opposition is still guiding you to the same place. All right, of the the opposite talking point. Alex Jones, he making scenes that he's this rebel against the New World Order. All right, but he's still promoting you to follow Trump. Which Trump is nothing but a New World Order puppet. Okay, a do boy for the Zionists, for the elites. Okay, so they have people will be anti-Trump. Okay, or people be pro-Trump, but they're still following the agenda that's leading them to this new world order. But they just fight amongst each other. And see, they want the masses to get ready to cancel each other out. Okay, and you go here, it says to divide into parties, i.e., be split into fractions. Okay, to be split into factions. Salaki. Okay, this is what these devils do. Okay, and the Lord is doing this to these devils, man. So everything that these devils are doing to the masses, the Lord is doing to them. Okay, but the masses have no clue of how they're being intentionally divided and cut into pieces and separated and and meant to identify with these different ideologies, man. Be emotionally attached to these ideologies, man. Okay, so you go here, um, real quick. We'll get back to the video. But you go here to the book of Second Ezra 13, and this is the scene Yahweh Shai is coming back to. All right, Second Ezra 13 and 30 says that he shall come to the astonishment of them that dwell on the earth, and one shall undertake to fight another, one city against another, one place against another, one people against another, and one realm against another. Okay, so there's going to be division on top of division. Okay, at the return of Yahweh Shai. The earth is going to be like a battle royal. It's going to be all type of, factions and different sects and, splinter groups and, okay, different ideologies and, okay, because if society collapse, these people are going to be more violent, okay, with their ideology, man. because if they could, like this last election really showed was like Esau's handiwork on the minds of the people. Because if they could, if they could get away with it, these liberals, they would have did harm, to Trump supporters, man. The way they was infuriated. Okay, but it's just a token of how this devil has the minds of the masses, man. And even with this latest Trump fiascos, they made him a hero. It just shows you how these devils have the minds of the masses, man. You know, so um, let's go back to the video. All right. Also, this is a fair use. I'm not making any monetary profits off this video. Just for educational purposes only. Fair use. Fair use.
Right versus wrong, safe versus dangerous. It's emotionally satisfying because it relieves us from the hard work of thinking. Instead of seeking truth, we start seeking validation. Today, tribalism isn't limited to politics or religion. It's become about identity itself. It's about defining who you are by defining who you're against. And once you've joined a tribe, questioning its beliefs is seen as betrayal. Thinking for yourself becomes a kind of treason. That's why people cling to the dumbest ideas, even when those ideas are clearly false. Because the truth is hard. It demands thought, reflection, and often discomfort. Anger, on the other hand, is easy. And when it's shared by your tribe, it doesn't just feel easy, it feels righteous, even if everything you're yelling is completely wrong. You can see the same pattern in George Orwell's 1984. Every day, citizens take part in a ritual called the 2 minutes hate. Together, they scream at the enemies of the state and praise Big Brother in perfect unison. There's no reflection, no critical thinking, just a sea of people shouting the same slogans, thinking the same thoughts. Because deviation is dangerous. The tribe must be preserved, even if that means embracing lies. And this is the heart of the stupidity epidemic, the death of independent thought in exchange for collective affirmation. The unwillingness.
What are these things that we're doing right now that are really need to stop? Just stop eating for a little while. Like some people haven't gone an entire 12 hours.
Or inability to challenge the group, to think critically, or to question popular delusions. We've stopped thinking for ourselves. We've chosen belonging over truth. And the cost is staggering. Digital echo chambers and engineered distraction. We are not thinking machines that feel, we are feeling machines that think. Tech platforms today aren't neutral tools of information. There's no denying they've been useful, but they've also become engines of manipulation. Built to maximize engagement at all costs, they don't prioritize truth, nuance, or balance. What captures attention isn't careful thought, it's outrage. Not reasoned analysis, but sensationalism. Not curiosity, but confirmation bias. These platforms have become highly efficient factories of intellectual decay. Their systems are designed not to inform you, but to keep you scrolling. They feed you content that reinforces your beliefs and shields you from anything that might challenge them. Every click, like, and swipe teaches the machine what makes your brain light up, and it delivers more of it, over and over again. Slowly, your digital world turns into a hall of mirrors. You're not seeing reality, you're seeing your own biases reflected back at you. It is like when someone said, when everyone is thinking the same, no one is really thinking at all.
And just to explain, doing with the algorithm. So let's say, because they push these doctrines, they've been pushing these doctrines on feminism, all right, street culture, liberal, conservative, all these different doctrines, Christianity, whatever. So whatever that you're already into, and you get on these social media platforms and you're able to scroll through videos. Well, let's say if you're a feminist woman, all right, so any content that supports feminism, you're gonna look at that longer, okay, and the algorithm picks up on it, okay. and it begins to feed you more content that justifies feminism and these different things, and it's going to feed you that, and it's going to further, all right, mold, all right, your reasoning, on feminism. Okay, if you're a conservative, if you're a Trump supporter, all right, and you're scrolling and you're going to look at things that support Trump and that big up Trump, you're going to look at those videos longer, and the algorithm is going to feed you these things. Okay, if you're anti-Trump, you're going to look at videos that's anti-Trump more, and it's going to start to feed you these things. So whatever you into, if it's sports, okay, the algorithm picks up, oh, he likes sports, basketball, football. They're going to feed you those things, okay, and it creates a reality to where you're distracted, all right, you're misinformed, okay, or all of the above, okay. And this is what this social media has the weapon to do. Now, on the flip side, as we've been changed, and then we begin to think different. All right. So that's why you might see, on your feed, if you got, let's say TikTok or whatever, you might get more health videos. Okay. You might get more critical thinking videos because those are the things that, you might be into now, recipes and cooking and holistic. And, you're looking at those things. So now the algorithm feeds you. So it's a way to manipulate these things in righteousness. But it starts with your core being reset, and that's what the scripture do. It's making us a new man, a new creature. So we have a new perspective. So we have new interests and new desires. Okay. But if your interests and desires are of this world, well, social media, the algorithm is meant to just pick up on those things that you already desire, and just feed you them things into your algorithm, man. You know, so this devil, he's taking these things to another level, and this AI plays a major factor in it. See, AI is able to do that. Okay, AI is able to pick up on how long you watch this video, what you're trying to shop for, and what you see. AI is able to pick up on all these things and is able to, all right, feed you more. You know, with these different algorithms, man. All right, and it says when everyone is thinking the same, no one is really thinking. All right, because you got this thing called group think. I had just looked it up. It's a term that you hear often, group think. All right, and group think can be good if it's in righteousness, but if it's in wickedness, matter of fact, if a brother put that in First Corinthians chapter 1 and 10, if a brother can post that real quick, Baba Kashah. All right, but if it's in wickedness, group think can be terrible, man. Okay, it says groupthink is a psychological phenomenon, going back to psyops, when a group prioritizes harmony and conformity over critical analysis and realistic appraisal of situations, leading to flawed decision making. Okay, and people, all right, like Jake. Jake just got behind Kamala Harris because she was a so-called black woman. It had nothing to do with critical analysis and critical thinking. Okay. It had nothing to do with seeing, well, okay, what does she stand for? What does she do? What's her record? But the fact that she's a so-called nigger woman, Jake just flocked to her. Same thing with Obama. Obama was terrible for niggas, man. Okay, he freaked you niggas out, man. He began the process of turning you niggas completely out to freaks. Okay? But just because he looked like a so-called black man, Jake had developed this group think. And if you think outside of group think, then you're looked at, as a problem. Okay. So going back into it, says group think is a psychological phenomenon where a group prioritizes harmony and conformity over critical analysis and realistic appraisal of situations, leading to flawed decision making. This can happen when a group values consensus and group cohesion more than objectively evaluating options, potentially leading to suboptimal or even disastrous outcomes, man. Okay, and when Esau was able to get people, to group think on things that's harmful, it's terrible, man. Okay, when the worst of our people started being glorified, niggas, pimps, hoes, when that started to be glorified and that started to be accepted, and that started to be the cultural norm amongst our people, Okay, it says where does it go? It says the evaluated options potentially lead to suboptimal or even disastrous outcomes. Yeah, that's the point. All right, the outcome was disastrous, man. Okay, when single motherhood became a norm, when they became accepted, the outcomes was what? Disastrous. But then you speak against those things, you're a villain. You know, it's another thing. Esau makes it to where you speak out against group think, you're a villain. Okay, no matter how disastrous the outcomes is, where you're going against the group, you're a problem. Something is wrong with you. Okay, because this many people agree with it. Something has to be wrong with you, no matter how disastrous the outcomes are. Okay, being a nigga is disastrous, man. Street niggas, a gang culture, like the outcomes is disastrous. But you speak against these things, you become a villain. Okay, and that's the purpose of group think. You know, it's a way to herd the minds of the masses, man. Okay, so let's go here. Um, but on in righteousness, you know, it can yield all right great results. You know, because the earth, all right, the elect, okay, we have a group think in righteousness, man. All right, this is the brother Dhammawatia, GMS in his likeness. 1 Corinthians 1 and 10 says, now I beseech you, brethren, by the name of our Lord Yahweh Shah Hamashiach, that ye all speak the same thing, and that there be no divisions, all right, among you, all right, but that ye be perfectly joined together in the same mind and in the same judgment. Okay, that you be perfectly joined together in the same mind and in the same judgment. Okay, so there is a righteous way to group think because we all judge according to what the scriptures. Okay, our perception and our viewpoint comes from the perspective of the true doctrine of the scriptures, man, the righteousness of the scriptures. Okay, so there's a righteous way to group think, but Esau, he turns everything into wickedness, man. Okay, so let's play some more of this. Oh man, oh man.
We are feeling machines that think. Tech platforms today aren't neutral tools of information, not because we've lost the ability to think, but because we're no longer being pushed to. These digital systems reward emotional simplicity over intellectual depth. They don't challenge us with complex ideas. They feed us memes, outrage clips, and tribal sound bites. And we keep consuming them. Psychologists call this confirmation bias, our tendency to seek out and cling to information that supports what we already believe. These systems exploit that flaw relentlessly. They don't challenge us. They comfort us. They affirm us. And they keep us intellectually stagnant. This isn't just a theory, it's something we were warned about. Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451 envisioned a future where books were banned and burned, but not simply because of tyranny, because society chose ease over thought. People became addicted to wall-sized screens feeding them shallow entertainment. Independent thinking faded. And in a grim twist, it was the people themselves who stopped reading, stopped questioning, and willingly embraced their own mental sedation. As Bradbury put it, you don't have to burn books to destroy a culture. Just get people to stop reading them. Today, we're not burning books. We're just ignoring them. We've traded critical thinking for instant gratification. We recognize memes more easily than we can finish a news article. We scroll endlessly, but rarely sit with difficult ideas. Artificial intelligence doesn't have to destroy human intelligence. It just has to distract us long enough for us to stop using it. Think about how often we outsource our thinking to machines. Even when driving, we rely on GPS, sometimes for routes we've taken before. I've done it myself.
This brilliant device keeps your home cool in summer, even during heat waves and power outages. It's smaller than a lunchbox, cools any room within.
Followed directions so mindlessly that I arrived without knowing how I got there. Ask me to retrace the path without Google or ChatGPT, and I'm lost. It's like we're no longer navigating the world. we're being navigated through it. In this world, stupidity isn't an accident. It's a feature. And there's still one more major force feeding this epidemic of ignorance: the Dunning-Kruger effect. The trouble with the world is that the stupid are cocksure and the intelligent are full of doubt. In our hyper-connected digital age, where every voice has a platform and every opinion can go viral, a strange pattern keeps repeating itself. The loudest voices are often the least informed, and disturbingly, they are also the most confident. This paradox is explained by a well-documented psychological bias known as the Dunning-Kruger effect, named after researchers David Dunning and Justin Kruger. At its core, the Dunning-Kruger effect shows how people with low competence in a subject tend to dramatically overestimate their abilities. Why? Because the same lack of knowledge that makes them bad at something also prevents them from recognizing their own ignorance. They don't know enough to know what they don't know. But this isn't just an academic curiosity. It has serious real-world consequences. Before the internet, if someone was misinformed, their influence was mostly limited to their immediate circle. But now, someone with almost no understanding of a complex issue can broadcast their half-baked opinions to millions. And the more confident or outrageous they are, the more attention they get. Meanwhile, actual experts, who often speak with nuance and humility, are drowned out in the noise. This creates a terrifying inversion of credibility. The less you know, the louder you shout. And the louder you shout, the more influence you gain. This is especially dangerous because social media rewards confidence, not competence. Platforms don't care if your take is accurate, they care if it's engaging. So we end up in a world where uninformed certainty spreads like wildfire, while well-researched perspectives go unnoticed. I won't go into more detail here about the Dunning-Kruger effect itself, because I've already made a deep dive video on that very topic. You can find the link in the description if you want to explore this psychological trap further. What matters for now is that this
And going into that, what he called the Dunning-Kruger effect, you have these people, they have these platforms on social media, all right, that are able, they're praised, but they're on here. You have women, all right, who have nothing, who have no clue about being a wife, giving advice to women. Okay. You have women, all right, or men as well, even men, all right, as you have this whole, alpha male red pill, which there's some good points being made, but a lot of these men, all right, they're not qualified to give a lot of this information that they're speaking on. Okay. So what you have in this society is that you don't have to know what you're talking about. You just have to seem like you know. You don't have to have any experience in what you're actually talking about. You just have to seem like you have an experience, man. You have people that's giving health advice, okay, but they are not really living a lifestyle, okay. You see, but they're able to seem as if they know what they're talking about, man. Okay, so this is a society that's full of misinformation, all right, fake experts, okay. Everybody's a guru, everybody got it figured out. Well, this is the most confused society that has ever existed, man. Okay, all these experts, but then you still have an argument: should men go into the girls' bathroom? Okay, should men play women's sports? Like Trump overturning those things is a major victory for a society that's supposed to be so advanced. So has so much expertise and so much technology. Okay, with simple arguments, you ask the question, "What is a woman?" Okay, and you might not get an answer, man. You go into a room, okay, full of people, and you ask, "What is a woman?" You might not even get an answer, man. But everybody's a goddamn expert, and they have, the social media, the production, the video editing, to make it seem like they got it. And that information is destroying people, man. People base their life off of meme. There's people that look at memes for philosophy, man. They look at these memes on Facebook as some type of philosophy to live by. Okay, and they're getting disastrous outcomes, man. Okay, so let's play some more.
This cognitive bias fuels a broader trend we're seeing across society, the normalization of misinformation. The normalization of misinformation. The point of modern propaganda isn't only to misinform or push an agenda. It is to exhaust your critical thinking, to annihilate truth. In today's digital landscape, the line between truth and falsehood is not just blurred, it's under attack. We are no longer just dealing with ignorance. We are dealing with the systematic normalization of misinformation, where lies are repeated so often, so confidently, and so emotionally that they begin to feel true. The rise of misinformation isn't an accident. It's the product of systems that reward sensationalism over substance. Outrage, not accuracy, drives engagement. Emotional appeal, not empirical evidence, fuels virality. And in a culture addicted to speed, simplicity, and instant gratification, thoughtful, nuanced perspectives get left behind. The result is a world where dangerous falsehoods can become mainstream ideas. Take the resurgence of the anti-vaccine movement. Despite overwhelming scientific consensus on the safety and importance of vaccines, misinformation campaigns have convinced millions.
And this is not medical information. All right. We just examine a video. This is not medical information.
To distrust them. This isn't just an abstract concern. It's had deadly consequences. Diseases like measles, once eradicated in many regions, have made a comeback. Not because the science changed, but because people stopped listening to it. This is just one example. The consequences of misinformation stretch far beyond public health. They erode trust in institutions, deepen political divides, and undermine our ability to solve collective problems. As people retreat into ideological echo chambers, shared dialogue collapses. The willingness to change one's mind, a sign of intellectual maturity, becomes a rare and risky act. Facts are no longer seen as neutral, they are seen as partisan weapons. As media scholar Gabriele Cosentino warned, we're entering a post-truth era. In this world, truth is no longer defined by evidence, but by emotion. If something feels true, that's enough. Reality becomes subjective, malleable, optional. And when the loudest voices in the room are rewarded, the ability to think critically suffers. People become more vulnerable to scams, to dangerous ideologies, to groupthink. Society, in turn, begins making foolish, short-sighted decisions. Just like in the 17th century tulip mania, where people spent fortunes on flower bulbs, mass delusion can grip entire populations. The difference is, today's delusions are turbocharged by technology. All of this stems from what we might call the decay of our cognitive immune system. Just like our bodies can be weakened by exposure to viruses, our minds are now weakened by constant exposure to junk information. We stop filtering, we stop questioning, we stop thinking. And when that happens, stupidity isn't just an individual failing, it becomes a systemic threat. The German theologian Dietrich Bonhoeffer saw this coming. In the 1940s, while resisting the Nazi regime, he argued that stupidity is more dangerous than evil. I've made a full video on Bonhoeffer's insight and how to protect your mind from this kind of societal decay. It's on the end screen, and the link.
Yeah, so that's the point on that video. As I put it in the description box. It seems like he got a few more, videos he's done. I'll try to watch and see if there's anything else that we can draw from it. Probably watch a couple more, see what they own. But yeah, man, this through media, this man has been able to amplify, propaganda in a way that no other heathen was able to do. Okay, and you go here, all right, because wickedness, and lewdness is rewarded. Okay, this is the society that we live in. It says the wicked walk on every side when the vilest men are exalted, man. Okay, and the vilest men are these devils, these Edomites, man. And amongst the Edomites, you have Amalek, and that's where you really get the sick and twisted and disgusting, Edomites. And these are the people that's exalted. So wickedness, has a place in this society. Wickedness, is the norm in this society, man. Okay, lies, manipulation, these things are the norm. Okay, this is the book of Isaiah 32 and 5. This is brother GMS in his likeness. It said, the vile person shall be no more called liberal, nor the churl said to be bountiful, man. Okay, so we're coming to the time where the devil, as he's been exposed, okay, he's not going to be called liberal or the hero, because he's presented himself as if he's liberated the world, okay, into this new age of, of this utopia, or just this modern, all right, utopia, man. You know, that's what he's presented. Okay, Esau Edom. I mean, Esau Edom has presented himself, as the hero that had brought in this modern utopia of convenience and, access and wisdom and knowledge and enlightenment. Okay, but nah, man, he's not going to be called that anymore, man. He said, nor shall the churl said to be bountiful, man. Okay, so this wicked man is now being revealed and called out, okay, to the madness that he's introduced to society, man. Okay, but he's packaged it, as if he's liberated people and advanced people, okay, to a better way. Going back to the garden, that's the game, that he ran on on uh on Eve. Okay, let's go here to the book of Psalms. All right, Psalms 52 and 2. It says, thy tongue devises mischief like a sharp razor working deceitfully. Okay, so through this man's, doctrine, his media, okay, it's another part of the sword. Okay, because what does the sword does? It destroys. Okay, and this man he weaponizes everything, even his information. Okay, it's likened it to a sharp razor, man, because it's destructive, man. Okay, these doctrines and these philosophies and these movements that he's giving people to live by have absolutely destroyed them, man. Okay, it says, thou lovest evil more than good, and lying rather than to speak righteousness. Thou lovest all devouring words, O thou, all right, deceitful tongue. The Most High shall likewise destroy thee forever, and he shall take away and pluck thee out of thy dwelling place and root thee out of the land of the living, man. You see, Esau, he shouldn't even be here, man. He's not fit to be amongst existence. Okay, so this what we're seeing is the reason why. And see, the elect get it. It's one of the traits that the hopeful elect will have is they see the reason why Esau is going to get the judgment he's going to get, man. We see why he shouldn't be here as a race of people. Okay, and we see eventually why the Lord is going to root this man out of the land of the living, man. He only causes confusion, okay, death, and chaos, man. Okay, he only destroys and he takes away life. He takes away peace. How much peace, all right, how much chaos and dysfunction has this man misinformation caused, man? And he goes to the farthest extent to misinform people, man. He people actually die so he can misinform the masses, man. Okay, with these staged events, these different things that this devil has, and he spins the narrative, to push misinformation. Okay, in Psalms 52 and 6, it said, the righteous also shall see and fear and shall laugh at him, man. He's going to be a mocking. The Lord's going to judge this man and make this man a mockery, man. Is this the man? It said, lo, this is the man that made not the Most High his strength, but trusted in the abundance of riches and strengthened himself in his wickedness. Okay? And this is what the devil has done, all right, within his rulership is strengthen himself in his wickedness, man. And one of the main ways that he does that is to keep, people, all right, uh, confused and divided, because as long as people are divided, he can be strengthened. Okay, so Lord will, you brothers, all right, and you sisters edify once again. We're gonna give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers, and peace and blessing salutation to the hopeful elect Shalom.